So you have new steps. Huh?
They were there yesterday.
Good. Um, it's interesting that most people have sat in the same seats. Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatidam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namah. So, we'll continue from where we left off yesterday. There may be some new people, I don't know, but I can't go back and review because that will take some time off. However, one thing about the Upanishads is that it's something which you need to read, listen, more than read, listen, and understand immediately instead of thinking, I'll reserve it for going home and thinking about it. Because it is Shruti. Shruti is that which is heard. Smriti is that which is printed, read, reasoned out, taken home and thought about. Shruti is what you heard and you got it, you got it. You didn't get it, you didn't get it. So listen carefully now. Listening is not so easy. Why? Because we listen always through a curtain. Suppose me or somebody else, I or someone else is talking, and you are listening. What happens is, half of the mind, 50% of the mind, is spent on comparing. So and so said like this. So and so said like this. Now this guy is saying like this. Right? So one is not listening. Now this listening is a great art. The art of listening is to listen saying like Upanishad for the first time, without clouding it with any other memories and anything else. That is called, then the Shruti works. Otherwise it doesn't work. So then instantaneously you understand what is being said. Because your mind is fully there. If 50% is analyzing, and if, I'm not saying you shouldn't analyze, if 50% is comparing, only 50% is left to grasp. If you can leave that, if not 100, at least 90% to listen, then the Shruti will have its effect. Upanishad is Shruti. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying you should not read somebody else or listen. I'm not saying that. But when you listen to something as sacred as Upanishad, put away all your comparisons, ideologies, including political ideologies. Listen as if you're listening to something for the first time, and then we'll grasp something. So, we discussed this yesterday, that the Ishavasya Upanishad comes from the second Veda, Yajurveda. It is the last part of the one section of the Yajurveda. And therefore it is principal Upanishad and it's an old Upanishad because Yajurveda is the second Veda, according to Vyasa's compilation. It's very interesting because this is an Upanishad that is not talking so much about running away from the world and staying somewhere far away and meditating and so on. I daily get at least 2 emails of people complaining that their son or daughter has deserted home and gone to an ashram and is not coming back. Painful letters sometimes. Well, I have also pained my mother somewhat that way. What I mean is that this is something which can be done where you stay, in your house, under all circumstances in which you are, admitting that to seriously think about spiritual matters, you require solitude sometimes. I agree with that. But it need not be a permanent running away. Long or short periods of solitude are good. But always stay where you are and work. This is also the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is not a sannyasin. Arjuna is actually wanting to give up and Krishna is saying don't give up. Battlefield of Kurukshetra. This world is the battlefield of Kurukshetra for us. Staying here, how can we move forward? The Ishavasya Upanishad has only 18 slokas, like we discussed yesterday. And it says, while you live in this world and do all the acts that are required to be done, work in such a way with the understanding that the inner self is the same in all, and it is all pervading. Therefore, none of the stains of the karma will stick on you. Which is why it was Gandhiji's favorite Upanishad, because he worked. He did not sit quietly and meditate, he worked. But his mind was a settled mind. So, yesterday we did 5 slokas. We just started the 6th sloka and left it there. I will, in short, go through the first few slokas. We discussed Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamad, so we won't go back there. That is the invocation of this Upanishad. So, it says, Ishavasya vidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam. Quick run. Tena tyaktena bhunjita bhagritha kasyasi dhanam. Meaning, all this, whatever moves in this world of action, Jagat, derived from Jagatyam, that which always moves, the whole Jagat. All this is enveloped or pervaded by the Supreme Being, the Supreme Isha, name given to the Supreme Reality. Tena tyaktena bhunjita, therefore let go and rejoice. I think this is what they have written here. At the back, if I turn, I'll get a neck pain now. So, tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice, say the Upanishad, because that Supreme Being pervades everything here. On a clear day or on a misty day, whatever. So, this all-pervading Supreme Reality, the Isha, when I speak, some words are loaded, so. Yeah. So, knowing that this Supreme Reality pervades everywhere and is also part of you and you are part of it, so why are you getting tense is the question. They don't ask that. Therefore, let go and rejoice. Ma gridha kasya siddhanam. So therefore, do not covet for other people's belongings, because all the belonging, including yours, belong to the Supreme Self. Gridha kasya dhanam also means whose wealth is this anyway? Belongs to the world. We are temporarily sharing parts of the wealth. The problem of wealth is not one of quantity. It is a problem of distribution. Some are rich, some are poor. So, but the mind, even if one is in the poorest circumstances, I'm not saying you should work towards it, can be rich. The mind, the richness of the mind and the joy of the mind has nothing to do with what you have or what you do not have outside. If you have inside richness, then under all circumstances you can be happy and carry on with life. And because of that you cannot stop action, because action is the nature of the world. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. This world is jagat because it is always moving. So if you try to artificially stop it from moving, it's not going to work. So while you move, find the center which is motionless and absolutely quiet. Imagine a wheel. If the middle axle of the wheel also starts moving, moving in the sense like the wheel is moving, it makes no sense. There must be one center which is steady, from where everything moves. And that center which is steady is the Isha, the Supreme Being, which is in you, in me, and everywhere. This is the teaching of the Ishavasya Upanishad. First sloka. Second sloka, I'm going fast. Kurvanne veha karmani jiji visheta shatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. Which means, therefore perform all your works here, always. Even if you wish to live 100 years performing work. Then it says, oh man, I would say, oh people, there is no way other than this. Which means, there is no way to escape work. Especially some people who think that they have attained the Supreme Being and stop all working. If this happens in youth, it's dangerous, especially. Could be cannabis, could be anything. So, the Upanishad says, there is no way other than working in this world. Continue to work for 100 years, doesn't matter. But, if you work with the understanding that the Supreme Self pervades everything, and is in you and also everywhere else, all the stains of the karma will not touch you. Na karma lipyate nare. So you can teach yoga as much as you want. But if you keep yourself in that state where you think the inner being is quiet all the time, however much all your life you teach, nothing is going to happen, nothing to worry. Then, the third sloka was, Asurya nama te loka, andhena tamashavata, tam ste pratyabhigachanti yache atma hanojana. That means, demonic are those worlds enveloped in blinding darkness. There go them after death who are slayers of the self. Which means, if you deny that inner self and do not inquire into it and find that it is the all-pervading supreme reality, such people are called Atmahanojana, those who are the slayers of the self. Not the other way around. To slay the selfish self is a wonderful act. But to deny the all-pervading self, Those who do that enter into a world of darkness, because when they depart from this physical body, they are completely lost, because the only thing they know is this world and its enjoyments. They enter into great worlds of darkness. Those who are not recognizing the fact that the inner self is the spark of the supreme, all-pervading being. Then the fourth sloka we discussed yesterday, I won't go into details. It's trying to describe the indescribable and therefore describe in contradictions. About that self, the Upanishad says, Anejadekam manaso javiyo nainad deva apnavan purvamarshat tadvavato anyanatyeti tishtat tasmin abo matarishvan dadhati. Which means that Supreme Spirit is unmoving. And yet, it is swifter than the mind. Which means the mind, however fast it works, you don't have to encourage it to work, it's always working fast. It cannot touch that. When it slows down and relaxes and completely comes to rest, perhaps there is a chance of understanding that. So, it is unmoving, yet it is swifter than the mind. So, we are not talking about a physical object, which cannot be both. The senses do not reach it. Why? Because it is ahead of them. It stands still, yet it outstrips those who run. Which means, however much you run, you cannot reach that. The essence lies in staying still. In it, in this Supreme Spirit, the Supreme Being, the all-pervading air supports the activities of all beings. That all beings breathe and live is because of the existence of this all-pervading Supreme Being. I'm reading fast because yesterday we discussed slowly. We need to go to the next sloka. 5. Again, it's trying to describe the undescribable in contradictory terms by saying, because why? It is not an object of the senses. And therefore it cannot be described and discussed like the things that you see or feel. So these contradictory terms are used to prove that it is outside our limited logic. We like to think our logic is unlimited, not true. It's quite limited. So, the fifth sloka says, Taddejati, tadnejati, taddure, tadvatantike, tad antarasya sarvasya tadi, tatu sarvasyasya bahyata. Which means, it moves, and yet it moves not. It is far, and yet it is so near. Wherever you go, it is with you, so it is near. And wherever you go, it is there, so it's far. It is within all this. There is nothing which it is not in, and yet it is outside all this. Nothing where it is not there. It's a mathematical explanation needs to come. We have a mathematician here, teaches advanced mathematics in Seattle, in Washington State. So I'm telling her that we need a mathematical understanding of this. Okay, yesterday we just read this sloka and left it there. I said we will go into it today. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani ivanupashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tatho nu vijugupsate. So, after having understood this, one who sees all beings in his own self, and his own self in all beings, he does not feel any revulsion to anything by reason of such a view. This is the view. I can't be revolted with myself, right? Sometimes human nature, sometimes you get revolted with yourself. In my true essence, my true self, I'm not revulsed by it. If I see, suppose, theoretically, let's say now, that myself is in all, and all selves are in me, where is the revulsion or attraction? Nothing. Peace. So, even if others act in a way which can cause revulsion, if one doesn't see that but only sees the essence, which is not different from me, the revulsion immediately ceases. People may be acting according to their nature, but even the worst of so-called ordinary life, rules and regulations, inside them, in essence, is only the true self. Nothing else is there. And that self is in me. And I am in that self. It is one. So don't get repulsed by anything. There is no revulsion. In fact, it is like saying, I love everybody because they are the self. So it is selfish love. Not shellfish, selfish love. Now, here only thing is the S is a capital S, selfish, not the small. And it's natural for people to be selfish, but self in the big S, not small s. The 9th sloka. Now here is a sloka which I have discussed with many people. And finally, I discussed it with Maheshwaranath Babaji, my Guru, where a little bit of light was shown. Because it's a very strange sloka. All of us worship knowledge. Nobody worships ignorance. But the 9th sloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad says, Andham tama pravishantiyo avidyayam upasate. That is understood. Next is a bomb. Tata bhuya yuvate tama yahu vidyayam rata. This is a bomb because this we understand. Into blinding darkness enter those who worship ignorance. So we'll all say yes, we are not ignorant. We will not enter blinding darkness because we don't worship ignorance. The next sentence, Tado bhuya yivate tamo yau vidyayam rata. And those who delight in knowledge enter into still greater darkness, as it were. What could this mean? I mean, are they playing with words? Rishi said their time was valuable, they were not playing with words. They enter into darkness who worship ignorance. Okay, I don't have to go into that. We all know. Don't you think so? We are not ignorant, we don't worship. Those who worship knowledge enter into greater darkness. What could this mean? So after meeting various people and talking to them, very highly revered people who are established in the Shastras, some of them, I could not get an explanation. I said, this is not possible. We all want knowledge. And if you knowledge enter into greater darkness, how can this be? So one day, standing on the banks of the Ganga, sitting with Maheshwaranath Babaji, I popped a question. He said, I know you think you're intelligent. I said, say Puja, So So I can give you the explanation. He gave me two explanations. One is the personal explanation. And that, he said, the moment people think they have knowledge, their ego swells up and they enter into greater darkness. I know everything, I have all the knowledge in the world. Ego swells up, and when the ego swells up and becomes more important, the inner self is not visible. Enter into greater darkness. That is the psychological explanation. But there is also an absolute explanation for that. I'll share it with you, as I know, or as I am ignorant of it, let's put it that. In fact, there is another Upanishad called the Mundaka Upanishad, which also discusses this matter. So if you don't mind, I will go into it a little bit, except that I have to search for the Mundaka Upanishad. I don't come prepared, so I don't know where it is. I'll find out. Give me half a minute. 669. It's important. We are doing the Upanishad, don't think only of the Ishavasya Upanishad. What number did I say, page? See? $669. Here, in the section 1, what happens is Saunaka, the great householder, approaches Angirasa, the great Rishi, and asked him, "Sir, Honorable Sir," calls him Bhagav, Venerable Sir, what being known does all this become known? Is there something which we know, everything is known? Asks Saunaka to Angirasa. Angirasa says to him, Tasmai sa hovacha dve vidye veditavye iti hasma yad brahma vido vadanti para chaiva aparacha. He says, oh Saunaka, there are two kinds of knowledge. Both are to be known. Indeed, the knowers of the Brahman have declared the higher knowledge and the lower knowledge. And then he says, of these, now you will be surprised. You'll be shocked. Upanishad, Shruti, Tatra para, Tatra apara, which means knowledge which is not superior. Paravidya, not paravidya, but aparavidya, that which is not the highest knowledge. Angirasa is giving the list to Saunaka. And what is it? Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, phonetics, rituals, grammar, etymology, metrics and astronomy. So he says, then what is the higher knowledge? If you put everything, even the Upanishad is from the Vedas, mind you. This comes from the Yajurveda, Ishavasya Upanishad. All this you dismiss as aparavidya. So what is paravidya? Angirasa says to him, Atha para yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. That is the highest knowledge by which the undecaying Supreme Being is apprehended. That is the true knowledge. Which means Even if you know all this, if the aim is not to apprehend the Supreme Being, we are still in Aparavidya. Not that you shouldn't. See, if you don't read the Upanishad, how do you know that this is being said? It is not a stricture against reading these. It is reading and understanding that this is not enough unless, if you are seeking the truth, the aim should be to find the truth, not rest in any of these knowledges. I don't think there is a word called knowledges. Knowledge. And in the same Upanishad, or maybe it's in the same Upanishad, the next section, the 10th sloka is interesting. You would have thought that the sentence, the blind leading the blind, is from Shakespeare. No. 1000 years ago, at a conservative estimate, it occurs in the Mundaka Upanishad. I'm not saying Shakespeare read the Upanishad. Maybe, maybe not. But it says about people who have all the knowledge but are not searching for the truth. These deluded men, includes ladies also, please, here it is only an expression. These deluded men, regarding sacrifices and works of merits as most important, do not know any other good. Then, abiding in the midst of ignorance, avidyayam antare vartamanaha, abiding in the midst of ignorance, swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha, wise in their own self-esteem, thinking themselves to be learned, janganyamanaha pariyanti mudha, fools afflicted with troubles, andheinaiva niyamana yatandaha, it's like the blind leading the blind. When they become teachers, then it's like the blind leading the blind. Andheinaiva niyamana yatandaha. It's very clear what it means. So, having said that, we'll go back to this sloka. Andham tava pravishantiye, andham tama pravishantiye, yo vidyayam avidyayam upasate, tato bhuya yuvate tamo, yatu vidyayam ratha. So one I explained, the building up of the ego, saying I know everything. Second, we just now read in the Mundaka Upanishad. Knowledge today, if you think knowledge is information, then you don't need to carry it in your head. Today we have great God Google G. What is it? Sometimes wrong information also, but in general I'm saying. So what is the meaning here? It's important to dwell a little bit on it, don't worry. We'll finish the Upanishad. Okay. Let's define knowledge. What is knowledge? What do you mean? What do we mean by knowledge? Not you, me, all of us. Suppose I don't know about something. I say I'm ignorant of it, right? Sorry, I'm a little bit burping. Somebody gave me an aloo bonda just now. Sorry. So, I asked for it, of course. No, I have to confess because otherwise other person will feel bad. So, anyway, so I don't have knowledge of something. Let's say I don't have knowledge of this microphone to start with. When I decide, I should know about it. Right? Okay, so what do? I apply my mind and I try to understand that this is a microphone. So then I say, I have a knowledge of the microphone. What does that mean actually? It means I have understood the idea of a microphone and stored it in my memory, in some cubby hole somewhere there, which I can at any time recover. This is what it means, right? If I say I know what the microphone is, which means I didn't know before, then I came to know of it, and then I stored it in my memory, right? And it is there in some cubby hole in my memory, and at any given moment I can draw it back. This is what it means when I say I know about something. There is no knowledge that we have which is not stored in the memory. Any knowledge. No. When you're actually learning, it's not there. Once you have learned, it's done. Now, the Ishavasya Upanishad begins by saying, Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat, which means it is now and here. The Supreme Isha, the Supreme Truth is here and now. It's not something which can be memorized and put into the memory. Why? Because all memory is past. There is no present memory. Can you think of a present memory? All memory is past. And if all knowledge is memory, all knowledge is past, and we are looking for something which is here and now, which is the Supreme Reality. It cannot be derived from that which is in the past. It has to be now. And therefore, the Upanishad says, Andham tamaparavishanti yo avidyayam upasate. Those who worship ignorance enter into darkness. And tato bhuya yivate tamo ya uvidyayam. Those who worship knowledge enter into greater darkness. I hope you get what I am trying to say. That the experience of the truth is something immediate and now. It's not something which can be memorized and put it behind and withdrawn and looked at, checked and put back again. It has to be now. In every movement. Not something which is an idea which is memorized and put back. Because the truth has to be present. It cannot be the past. I hope. I'm trying to say this. Okay. The 10th sloka says, oh, yes, I forgot. It's because this picture was sitting here. Yeah. So, where did we do the 6th? 7th? We were doing the 9th. We didn't do? Oh. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanata tatra ko moha kah shokaha ekatvam manupashyata. Yes. That is the next one. After yastu sarvani bhutani, we jump to knowledge and ignorance. Because it's my favorite sloka, I think. It's kind of prejudiced. So, the 7th one says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhuva vijanata tatra ko moha kashokaha ekatvam manupashyata. Which means, after having understood the content of the 6th sloka, which says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani ivanupashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tatho na vijugupsate, which means, and he who sees all beings in his own self, and his own self in all beings, why would he be repulsed by anything? He feels no revulsion because everything is his own self and he is everybody's self. Right. After that it says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhuva vijanata, one who knows. So when one knows that all beings have verily become one with his own self, tatra ko moha, Kah shokaha ekatvam anupashyata. If this is so, if you experience that you are the self in all, and all selves are part of you, then what delusion can come to you? And what sorrow can be? Because you are one, there is no difference. Sorrow, pain, all these problems come when there are two. When there is only one, there is nothing. Two. I'm here, you're there, you'll be taking away my book or my specs. Or I'm here and somebody is thinking of something, I'm thinking of, there is a clash. Or you are in love with me and everybody falls in love, nobody flies up in love. So, the problem is that. So, when there are two, suppose the self in me is the self in you and one realizes it, suppose. Where is the moha, attraction, and where is the shokha? Where is the repulsion? Where is the sadness? Because you see, everything is one. What are you sad about? Who is sad about whom? It is all one. Then, eighth. That Supreme Being, who is yourself and who is also the self of all, He has filled all. Sa Paryagat Chukram. It's filled everywhere. There is no place where it is not there. And Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviram, Shuddham, Apapavidham. He is radiant. He fills everything and he is Chukram, he is very radiant. Akayam, he has no body. Avranam, he is invulnerable. You can't hurt, you can't cut, you can do nothing. Devoid of sinews and muscles. Pure and untouched by evil. Not talking about yourself, your inner self. He is the seer, one who sees. The thinker, when I think I am thinking. He is all-pervading. Does not exist, does not depend on anything else for its existence. Self-existent. And through distributed itself through endless years, years meaning Y-E-A-R-S, years, from infinity, the objects according to their natures. It is from this that all the objects according to their natures have come from. Essence, when you go back, is only that. It's like saying that in the beginning, there is a complete whole, not H-O-L-E, W-H-O-L-E, whole, which has the same frequency, no change in frequency. Then, here and there, the frequency changes. We don't know why it changes. But from this one impartial, uniform frequency, the frequency changes, and this whole world appears. Different natures come out from that because the frequency changes. When the frequency is brought down and brought back to normal, which is absolute quietness and stillness, you're back to the source. Because in the first place, the difference is felt because of the change of frequency. If you understand that it has come from one uniform frequency and try to tune into that, then all differences cease to exist. There is only one. And then comes the one we discussed, which is, into blinding darkness enter those who worship ignorance, and those who delight in knowledge enter into still greater darkness, as it were. That we have discussed. I don't think we need to discuss more on that, should we? And we'll become more ignorant. go on discussing knowledge and become more ignorant. Okay. The 10th sloka says, Anyat evahur vidyaya, anyatahur avidyaya, iti shushramadhiranam yanastatvyala chakshire. The ancients, the wise, have explained it thus. Now here the word used for the wise is dhiranam, that means the courageous ones. The courageous ones who could break through the illusion, dhiranam, iti shushrumadhiranam, the olden times, the brave ones have explained this to us. What? Distinct indeed, they say, is the result of knowledge, and distinct, they say, is the result of ignorance. What is the distinction? The distinction between knowledge and ignorance here means one who understands that the self is all-pervading and is not different from one's own inner self, understands that is true knowledge, while who one differentiates as different is ignorant, and therefore those who understand this, the result of their knowledge is different from the result of the knowledge of those who think they are different. What is the psychological result? Even forget about the universal result. Those who understand that they are different and not from the same, or not the same essence, undergo chaos in life. While those who know that it is one stay stable, quiet and blissful. So the results are different depending on the way of looking at things. This is what the Upanishad is saying. Vidyayam cha vidyayam cha avidyayam yastad vedabhyam sukha saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayam amritam ashnute. Knowledge and ignorance. He who knows the two together crosses death through ignorance, I'll explain, and attains life eternal through knowledge. Now this is again a conundrum. How do you escape death through ignorance? Now, somebody asked this question to a fakir who was sitting under a tree many years ago, thinking that he is a ignoramus, he wouldn't know anything about these matters. A very learned Maharashtrian gentleman went to him and said, it is written that knowledge is harmful to understanding and ignorance is also harmful. What do you think about it? He thought there will be no answer coming. This fakir explained it in such a simple way that if I explain it now, even an idiot like me will understand. I didn't want to say me, understand. So, only Shankara has the license to say Mudha Mate, so I can't say. So, they went to him and he said, in simple language, suppose you are walking in the grass and a thorn, kata, enters into your foot. How will you remove it? He said, I will pick up a sharp instrument. He said, oh, otherwise pick up another thorn, okay? Then I'll poke and slowly take out the other thorn. So this man asked him, after taking out the other thorn, will you stick the second thorn back? He said, no. What will you do? I'll throw both away. He said, got it. So, knowledge is used, all this body of literature called the Shruti is used to handle ignorance. When the ignorance is finished, you don't need any of this. This is all thrown away. I hope. So, knowledge and ignorance, he who knows the two together, who knows what is required when, crosses through ignorance, attains life eternal through the knowledge that it is better to be a fool. Trying to convey, because the Upanishad also is trying to convey, and the Rishi who is talking doesn't want to take the blame for anything. He says, Iti Shushruma Purvesham, so said the ancients. Or Dhiranam, whatever. So I'm also saying, so said the ancients. Then, the 12th sloka, Andham tama pravishanti asambhutim upasate tato bhuya yuvate tamo yahu sambhutyam rata. Same like the before sloka, little bit changed. Into blinding darkness enter those who worship the unmanifest, and into still greater darkness, as it were, those who delight. I'm adding only in the manifest. What they're trying to say is that those who think that the only universe that exists is the manifest universe that you see with your five senses enter into really blinding darkness. Also those who think that only the unmanifest is real also enter into darkness. Why? Because both the unmanifest and manifest are not two different things, they are the same. Look, you cannot understand the unmanifest without understanding the manifest. How do we understand the unmanifest without understanding the manifest? So to say the unmanifest is the only reality, so I shun everything that is you cannot. You can understand the unmanifest only through understanding the manifest. See how the unmanifest reflects in the manifest, and then you see the unmanifest. Because we have no other instruments of perception. We have only indriyas. And the mind which collects information from the indriyas and processes it. Do we have any other means of knowledge? Okay, let's look at it this way. When I say that I follow a certain rational blueprint, okay, nice to say that. What does that mean? It means that I get information of this world, the manifest world. We discuss manifest. How? Through my five senses. How else do I get information? Only through my five senses. And based on the data collected through these five senses, the mind processes. You can call it mind or brain, whatever you want to call it. Processes it and makes a blueprint, which I call my rational blueprint. And I'm established in it. We are saying, what if the Panchendriyas give you wrong data? They're not absolute, they're relative. We know that. Even simple things like optical illusions are possible. I see this microphone in a round little shape with something put on it. How? Because I have eyes, one of the indriyas. And that image of it is processed through my lens into my retina and my optic nerve, and I say, oh, this is the microphone. This is the process, right, for everybody. You can't see the microphone with the ear. That's another sense, indriyas. Shrotra. This is chakshu. Now, what if I was born with a different kind of chakshu? How will I see this shape? No, now we are all born with the same type, so it's okay. What if we all, I don't know if you know this, that the common housefly has compound eyes. Means cluster of eyes, not one. How will it see this shape? If I get into the brain of a fly and look, I may not see it as I see it now with my convex lens. I may see it as a cluster of something. Suppose we were all born like that, like the housefly. Thank God we are not. Then we would see this in a different shape, and we would believe it is that shape because the mind will process it and say, yes, it is like this. So therefore, the Upanishad is saying that the manifest world is known through our senses, and therefore you cannot depend on the manifest world. But it's only through the manifest world that you understand that it cannot be depended upon, like we discussed just now. The same with all senses. We depend upon an image made by the mind from the sensations drawn through the five senses, which are inaccurate. It may even be illusion. May. How can we rely on that knowledge and say that this is the right? You can rely on it for day-to-day purposes, but you should keep in mind that it is relative. It's not absolute. To know this is what they're discussing here. Those who worship the unmanifest and think the unmanifest, but we can't see the unmanifest. You can only process and figure out what the unmanifest could be by understanding what is manifest through our five senses. To say that I'm going to close my eyes and ears and go, not possible. You have to see first that what you see is not absolutely real. Relatively, yes. Then the mind goes to that which is absolutely real, which has no form, no shape, which cannot be killed or which is never born, which is ever existing, the inner self. When you touch that, there is true freedom, because you do nothing. Before touching that, to say I have stopped everything doesn't work. Like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that something called monkey's vairagya. Somebody failed in the exam, so he ran off to Banaras. Said, this world is unreal. I'm going to... And then, after some time, he's writing a letter to, please send some money order, because I'm starving here. This is not giving up. This is a temporary drawback that is happening to you. In the absolute sense, when you understand the true reality, you can understand it only through that which is unreal. So consider that both are real and unreal. This is what the Upanishad is trying to convey. Now, after this I will get up and go. As it is real, right? In the absolute sense, nobody is sitting, nobody is going. So I can't say, therefore I will sit here. This is what they're trying to explain. The Upanishads are very practical, down to earth, and very accurate in whatever they say. And don't think it is only meant for sannyasins. It's meant for all of us, even those who have sins. Not only sannyasins, but also for us. So therefore, sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastat vedo bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tritva sambhutya amritam ashnute. He who understands the manifest and the unmanifest both together crosses death through the unmanifest and attains life eternal through the manifest. The real manifest, not what appears to be manifest, but it is not manifest. Go home and think a little bit. It's somewhat like nuclear physics to them, but sorry, not rocket science anyway. So, Is there a 13th? We finished. 13th and 14th. Anya devahur sambhavat, anyadahura sambhavat, idi shushrumat dhiranam yunastat vechachakshire. So now we have, for tomorrow, 1 hour, 6 to 7, a prayer for the vision of God, of the Supreme. Now this 15th to 18th is traditionally chanted when somebody is dying. Now they do it when somebody is dead, but once upon a time it was chanted when somebody is dying. Because people don't know what it was nowadays, because it is in Sanskrit, unfortunately. Not that it is in Sanskrit, unfortunately, that people don't know Sanskrit. This is what I'm trying to say. It's such a great language that to make it sound as a dead language is something very difficult to state. You know, Sanskrit is a language. Every noun is made up of a verb. And verb is a word of action. Would you call such a language a dead language? I mean, and please, it is not meant for only religion. It's a non-denominational language. It's an ancient language. Kalidasa wrote all his literature in Sanskrit. Aryabhata wrote his mathematics in Sanskrit. They were not even speaking about religion there. But it's a great language, and the grammar is so good. Nearest to the German grammar, which is one of the most difficult grammars in the world. But we don't know. So, we don't know what they are saying. Somebody is sitting there and chanting, Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham. Something about Hiranmaya, okay. Tattam poshana pavruno satya dharmaya drishtave. What does it mean? So tomorrow I'll explain. Please, like I said yesterday, more than an hour, these things are not good. Mind will start wandering. So, I want for total attention. I'm asking for it. I don't say I want, but... So, we have to do 15, 16, 17 and 18 tomorrow. That's it. And then we'll have a little bit of question answers. My suggestion is that you give people small chits where they can write their questions in a language which I can read and give it to me. So I will then choose, because we can't go on till 10 in the night. People also have to go back home. So please, tomorrow after the talk, before the talk, give them pads or papers so they can write down the questions and they can give it to me, and please allow me to choose the questions. Because if you ask me about the eti, I won't be able to tell. We're doing the Upanishad, not about etis. So, thank you very much. Namaskar. I hope you enjoyed the session. So, live in enjoyment. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Dhanyavad. Take away this thing. Oh, there is nothing. Okay.
ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀಯಂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು, ಮನಸಾರಿ ನಮನಗಳು. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ನಾಳೆ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ 6 ಗಂಟೆಗಿದೆ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಒಂದು 15 ನಿಮಿಷ ಮುಂಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಬಂದು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರೋಣ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಎನಿಬಡಿ ಹೂಸ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಆಸ್ಕ್, now also you can write it down and the help desk is open. You can leave it there. Or tomorrow evening also, before the discourse begins, please drop it off at the help desk, which will be conveyed to Shriyam. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಶುಭರಾತ್ರಿ.